Parshas Devarim, Shabbos Chazon. And really, I want to welcome everybody to the yearly shir here at OTL, out to lunch in Lakewood. And I really had this feeling on the way here that it's not a celebration, because if it was up to every one of us, Tisha B'Av would already be a Yom Tov. There wouldn't be any Shabbos. I don't know, maybe we'll still read from the Navi. I'm not sure if we're supposed to call it Shabbos Chazon, but the word Chazon really means a vision. And we always speak about from the Nesivos Shalom. I just want to mention also that the shir should be discussed this week is the Nesivos Shalom's yard site, 26 years. I met the Nesivos Shalom one time in my life. I met him approximately maybe 5 months before he was nifter, and the only time somebody got me into the Nesivos Shalom. I got to see him one time, and I was very, very taken. And obviously, I started learning, giving a shir. It's already over 20 years, and so Shabbos Chazon, the Nesivos Shalom always teaches us that we have to see what's in it for us today. It's not a history lesson. Like we discussed in last week's shir about the Bein HaMitzarim, we don't look back, we don't cry over things that happened. It has to be something positive, something for us to take with us. And I just think, for my own, just saying the word Chazon comes from the same word as the S.S.S. And that's what really we should be thinking about. And we're hoping we should have this vision that should be in front of us. That this should not be the last 9-day shir in Golos. Next year we should have, don't have to make a siyum. We have all this food behind us, but the power of this time of the year now. And this should not be the vision that we have, that we look forward and we want to see the Beis HaMikdash built. And many of the years we spoke about the Haftarah of this week, of the Chazon, Haftarah of the Yeshaya Hanavi. So I thought it would be a good service to the Nesivos Shalom. Also, we haven't touched on so many of the ones of the Parsha of the week. So we're going to speak about the Parsha of the week now. And we begin this week, the final Seder of the Torah. Believe it or not, as we mentioned last week too, the next Chazak, the next thing is Simchas Torah. This is the final, we're starting Mishnah Torah. Shalom Devarim is Mishnah Torah. And the Nesivos Shalom tells us that Mishnah Torah is unique in a very special way, that it encompasses many, many different ways of Avodas Hashem. You take a look in the next few weeks of the Parshas, we're going to speak about Avas Hashem. We're going to speak about Yiras Hashem. We're going to speak the mitzvah, one of the big mitzvahs of the Torah, Uvoi Sidba, a person should be trying to cleave HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'halachta b'drachav, that a person should go in the ways of Hashem, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu acts with the Bria and with the people of the world is the way we're supposed to try to aspire to act like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and more, all these things. This is really the highlights of Shalom Devarim, are all these ways of Avodas Hashem. And then, of course, next week on Shabbos Nachamu, we have Parshas V'Eschanan, which the Nesivos Shalom calls that the lave, the heart of Mishnah Torah, because in next week's Parsha, S.S.S. right? We know Chashadan, S.S.S. Shema Yisrael. So, and we all know also Shema Yisrael is the foundation of Yadus. Judaism is built around Shema Yisrael. So next week we have a lot of our very, very big things coming up for Tzedekes Hashem, where every one of us in our own way could reach out to something in a way in Avodas Hashem and connect more to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Sfarim HaKadosh tell us really that all the Taryag mitzvahs of the whole Torah are leading up to the mitzvah of the Ahavas Hashem Elokecha. In next week's Parsha, the Ahavas Hashem Elokecha is what every mitzvah that we do leads up to that. So really, with that introduction, we have a tremendous question on what's going on here in the Torah. So if we have so many great things that we're going to do now in Mishnah Torah, as we mentioned, all this Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, Vegas Hashem, everything is in that. Why do we Devarim until Mishnah Torah to say all these amazing things. I would think should be the first thing, Bereshit Bara like him, and then start telling us what Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem. So the answer that the Nesivos Shalom gives right away before he elaborates a little more, and he says that really when we say that all the mitzvahs lead up to these great concepts, it also means that a person needs to do all the mitzvahs first. In order to reach a level of Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, whatever it is, Vekas Hashem, we're telling you, a person may have some kind of ideas of his own, how he wants to connect to Hashem. I don't know what he's going to do. Today people have all these ideas, he's going to sit in the forest, and pick a guitar, whatever. So the Torah is telling you that if you really want to have Vekas Hashem, you have to go through, there's a way to do it. You have all the mitzvahs and all the rules and all the halachas and Parshas Mishpatim and B'tzias Mitzrayim. You have to go through all the lessons of that, and that's how a person really becomes to connect to Hashem. So we have to wait sort of until the end of the Torah to come out and tell you all these things, but first you have to go through all the mitzvahs. And now we take a look, Chumash Devarim. So if you look at the beginning of the parsha, what's going on? The first few psukim, El HaDvarim, is really Moshe Rabbeinu is reprimanding Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu is going through the different things that Klal Yisrael, and it's hard to even say that the Yidden of that generation did something wrong, but there were things that went on, and Moshe Rabbeinu, you look at Rashi, every word that Moshe Rabbeinu said to them was going back on something else. He's reprimanding Bnei Yisrael for things that they did wrong in the Midbar. So why is that coming? Well, where does that come in over here? So very good we answer by all the mitzvahs have to come before all the great lessons of Mishnah Torah. But why we have to stick in over here? Let's start with the big things. So we already understand why it has to be a Mishnah Torah. Let's start off slow, Avos Hashem, start with more things, and then Moshe Rabbeinu could reprimand Klal Yisrael. Let's begin with all the madrigas of Avodas Hashem. So the Nesivos Shalom answers, and he says that we say every morning, we know Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem. That the pasuk in Tehillim says, Sor Meirah, V'Hasei Toiv, that the first thing that a person had, even though Avos Hashem and Vekas Hashem are in many ways a greater madrega, but Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem, the first thing a person has to have, he has to know that there is a Rabbanu Shalom, and you're being watched, and there are rules to the game. The first thing we have to know is Yiras Hashem. You have to turn away from the negative. Every person, Chazal tell us that every person is born with the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara comes when you become a gadol later on in life. Every person is born with the Yetzer Hara. So the Yetzer Hara has a huge head start on anything good you might want to do in your life. The Yetzer Hara has a tremendous head start. So how do we reach the madregas of Avodas Hashem if you still have this Yetzer Hara? You're dealing with it for 13 years, for 13 years or 12 years. You're dealing with this Yetzer Hara all the time. So when Moshe Rabbeinu is beginning Mishnah Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu begins not with the mitzvah of Avos Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu begins with Ela HaDvarim. These are the things that you have to remember that you did. Remember that there are rules. Remember there are certain ways that you have to, certain things that you have to follow in order to bring out the Yiras Hashem first. So after that, you're going to have the opportunity to have Avos Hashem and Vekas Hashem. There's another answer, which is a beautiful, beautiful answer. Shalom has another beautiful thought, and he speaks about this a couple of times throughout the Sefer. And he says how important it is, why Moshe Rabbeinu starts off with El HaDvarim, and it starts off, it's a little depressing. You start off by counting someone on the head. You know, especially today, it's you have to always be nice, and you have to first, what is the El HaDvarim? So Shalom speaks about the importance of the midah of Hachinah. No matter how great a person may be, and no matter how big you may be, how important it is that a person be humble and a person subordinates themselves to the Rabbanu Shalom, so that there are things above you. And that's a midah. The midah of hachna is what brings people to higher madregas. A person thinks that they're everything already, they're not going to grow too much. A person doesn't understand that wherever they are, they can always improve, and that there's people who are on top of you, there are people who are better than you, and you have to learn from people. The Pasuk in Tehillim tells us, Leiv mishbar v'nidke, elikim lo yitzim. Pasuk in Tehillim, a broken heart, a person who is broken, a person who feels that I'm not good enough, that I'm still doing things wrong. It's from there that, and you see in that pasuk, elikim lo yitzim, we see that there's a shaykhus to bizoyim, that there's bizoy, there's something over here. But if a person is broken and a person understands that they are not everything, that they're broken inside, they have to subordinate themselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, elikim lo yitzim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will never turn away from a person that's humble. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not like Gaiva. Famous Gemara, S.S.S. the Gemara beginning of S.S.S. tells us amazingly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says about a person who's a Baal Gaiva, a person who is not humble. Ein ani v'hu yechayil l'ador. It's hard to even say what it is. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could live in the world with anything and anyone, yet there's one thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this I can't deal with, kaviyach. And that's somebody who is a Baal Gaiva. That's someone who feels that they are everything. It's a very scary thought to think about that. Because Baruch Hu said that he can't be in the world with that person. And the same thing actually applies to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, the original name of Eretz Yisrael is Eretz Canaan. Nesivos Shalom tells us that the shorish of that comes Eretz L'Nichnoim. That if the people in Eretz Yisrael, you have to be, in order to be kind of Eretz Yisrael, with all the milas and everything that Eretz Yisrael comes along with, it has to be with Hachna. And then not to get into politics, of course, and anything like this, but Gaiva, and we have to do our Ishtadlus and all of this. But if people would understand, and if we would internalize a little bit the lesson, that yes, maybe you have to do Ishtadlus, and you have to fight, and you have to say, well, whatever, but the bottom line, Hachna. To understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge, and when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, that's when we're going to be successful in Eretz Yisrael. So now Klal Yisrael was going into Eretz Yisrael. So the Torah starts off, Mishnah Torah, with Eila HaDvarim. It comes off, the Moshe Rabbeinu says, reads us the riot act, he reads us what we did, and what we may have done wrong. That brings Hachna. That brings a person to be humble. You want to inhabit this land of Eretz Yisrael. That's meant for a person who has a broken heart, for a person who understands. So Moshe Rabbeinu, that's when he began with Eila HaDvarim. Before all the great things we're going to learn about in the next few weeks, all those things with the right time. First you have to know your place, you have to know who you are. And really, let's just carry it over for the last minute. It comes now a time when we all want to go back there to Israel. We all want to have a Beis HaMikdash. We have a few keys over here. Yes, Aras Hashem, Yiras Hashem, Dvikus Hashem, all those things. But the first thing we need to know is Yiras Hashem. Hashem is in charge. It's not up to us. There's no Kayim Oitzim Yodi. There's no my parnas, my thing, my no. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge, and we're on his timetable. Let's not hope that we should have that chazon, we should have that vision, where every one of us together, that should go back, we should go back barachamim, we should go back in a good way, we should go back in a happy way, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should take us out of this golus, and we should be zoycha to the geula shleima to the hero of Yemeinu. Amen.